All right, should we do some new releases?
Yes, because there's the obviously big one we need to talk about.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So our good friends at Ubisoft provided review codes for Star Wars Outlaws.
Yep,
to
our
myself,
former good friends. No, sorry.
To myself and my good friend Shipwreck. I'm not sure how far along you got into Outlaws.
I think we're probably about 7 hours in.
Okay, I might be like at the 10-ish range myself. So, put in a pretty good amount of time. I've never been more conflicted on my thoughts and feelings in a video game in a very long time, where it's like for everything this game does really right for a Star Wars game, then they do something and I'm like, why did they do that? And it's this weird balancing act where it's like if they lean, like there's a world, the Star Wars world that they built here that you live in this game is really good. And it's engaging and I want to learn more about it. And
there's a Wookiee right there.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as I start talking, that's the decision to let them out. It's really good, really interesting world building, really interesting stuff going on in this game. That you're playing as a girl who
has a big chin.
Jan Solo.
Jan Solo. What is her name? You made me forget as you said that. Yeah.
It's Jan Solo. I'm positive of it. You don't
not Jan Solo, but it might as well be. You're like a smuggler.
I like that you don't know the name and you're 10 hours in.
No, I did. And then Shipwreck said the other name and it went right out of my head.
Because she has the exact same outfit too.
Isn't it like something vest?
Vest Solo?
No, stop it.
Vest.
Black
vest.
Nuts. Driving me nuts.
Black Vestella, I think it is. Blastella.
Stop it. Anyway.
The combat looks bad. Is the combat bad?
That's the big problem with the game.
That's a big problem.
The big problem with the game is that the combat is terrible. Because there's barely any combat. It's all stealth. And
I don't like that.
The stealth is not good.
No, and the stealth gets K Vest. Thank you, Dizzy Death.
No, that's not
that is her name. Is K Vest. Yes.
Not a name.
Like it's something Vest. So I'm glad I was half right. She
earned that name because she wears a vest.
Yeah,
exactly.
She goes through a checkpoint early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she didn't have a last name. She didn't have a last name.
She didn't have a last name.
Where's your ID? What's your name?
And then the Imperial officer goes, "Hey, Vess."
Yep.
And then let her through.
She had a lisp,
Right.
Exactly. But well, that's also you mentioned the square head. That's another weird thing.
It's strange. Like there's such a weird thing to be looking at. The art styles are clashing or something.
The art style of the main character is different than the art style of the rest of the game. And I said this to you in the chat. It's if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, the Star Wars animated shows, the Dave Filoni Star Wars animated stuff, Kay Vess is animated in that style.
But no one else is.
With more like, I don't know. It looks more realistic.
More details.
There are details than that.
A little bit more details. But everyone else in the game is like just in a video game. They don't have like an art style to them.
Right. Like here's a stormtrooper. It looks exactly like a stormtrooper.
Like a stormtrooper. Yeah. They didn't.
So she's stylized, but nobody else is.
No one else is.
Kind of stylized. It's weird. Like, and there's some like weird filters. You can turn them on and off. It's got like kind of like the Mass Effect graininess setting that you can have on there.
But but her face stands out. It does. It stands out, and it only stands out because because of the juxtaposition against everyone else. Where if everyone else was that, like, not only that, but I think if they did go for that kind of Rebels art style, it might have worked. I think it could have been cool for this game if they did it for everybody.
Right.
It would be something a little different, but I also understand why they wouldn't want to do that because this is Ubi's first big attempt at a Star Wars game. And they don't want to be like, and look, it's a different art style. We're doing whatever we want. I get it.
So but just for the main character, they're like, we'll just do it for the main character.
It's like maybe they wanted to do it and they changed it late, but they didn't have enough time to change. I don't know.
They could fix that with a patch. They could round her head out.
Something. They kind of, because it is a little distracting. Yeah. But again, there's a lot of good in this game in the sense, you know, with like, oh, I want to finish fixing my ship and see and fly more into outer space and find the Imperials and, you know, get to the top of this faction and get all the perks I get for being at the top of this faction. And, you know, I want to take down the Hutts and I want to, you know, all of these things that you can do that are very Star Warsy. They put it at a really good spot in the timeline of Star Wars between A New Hope and Empire. So
is there space combat?
There is space combat.
Is it good?
It's okay. I've only done it like once, twice maybe. So yeah, again, it's mostly the stealth thing where it's like, okay, thanks for getting this thing for me. All right, now we need you to go back to that same spot again and sneak around.
And you're driving your like space motorcycle around a lot.
You have a space motorcycle that you could drive around in the big open.
And they look kind of like, I watched the video on YouTube of somebody playing for hours.
The controls of driving is not so great.
It didn't look fun just driving it through a desert. Like you're just driving a rickety space bike.
That's a lot of the game. Is it's not all that fun, but it is a good universe, and there's stuff to do.
Can you kill Jawas?
I don't think I've encountered any Jawas.
What?
We're 7 hours in or so, but I mean, Dash is the one doing the majority of the playing.
Got it.
So I have not seen all 7 hours that we've played. So there might have been Jawas at some point.
I haven't seen any Jawas.
Yeah, I have not seen any.
They're not on Tatooine, so.
Right.
Oh.
But you do have a space axolotl as a pet. You
yes.
can just say like, go steal that stuff or distract that person.
Which is helpful.
Well, yeah, because that's the gameplay.
That is literally the game.
That is literally the gameplay. It's
I don't want
space
that.
axolotl, go and distract that guard so I can hide in this tall grass that is somehow grown inside this industrial complex.
Yes, you'll be inside
just so I can sneak around.
And there'll be grass in there.
So they didn't have to make old desks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had to bump it down to easy due to the stealth because it just wasn't fun. Like we were just playing the same thing over and over again. And you have to kind of like feel your way out of where you're supposed to go because there's not a lot of like cues. And early in the game, you don't have that many gadgets or anything to like really work through. So anytime somebody sees you, you're pretty much caught. Unless you bump it down on easy and then you get through the stealth and you're fine.
And the stealth would be okay if it was like every 5th mission or something like that. Like if it wasn't everything, it would be fine. But the problem is that it's everything. So it's, you know, it's like, oh, you finally fixed your spaceship. Good job. Now we need you to fly into outer space and go to this Imperial base. I'm like, all right, now shit's about to get real. I'm going to fight some Imperials. I'm going to, all right, don't let anyone see you in there. Oh, man.
But I have a blaster. Like, and there are like areas where like you shoot people for a little while, particularly like
it sucks,
they might be,
right?
It's okay. I
worse
mean,
than Uncharted. Worse than Uncharted shooting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Then
yeah. But I mean, it's when it's compared to the stealth stuff, you're pretty happy to be shooting people.
I get that. Right? Sure.
And I think part of it was they didn't want this to be a game where it's like, okay, and now you're gonna just go and it takes place in the Star Wars universe where you're this person who kills 120 people. I hope you like murdering 120 people because that's what this game is. Because in Star Wars, it doesn't really work like it would in other video games, kind of. So I get what
it's a video game though. Like at the end of the day, it's a video game. But
at the end of the day, it's a video game. So it's like, should they've just made everyone robots? I don't know what would have been
gotta
better.
die in Star Wars too.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Like
murdering people in Star Wars.
When you're up against Imperials, it works. But when it's like, okay, you got to sneak into, this
Factory or
guy's
something.
apartment. Yeah, I don't
Whoops,
know.
I killed him.
Yeah.
Well, it's surprising to me that Star Wars, such a big franchise, and like this is such a big game. I'm sure it cost quite a lot to make it. And they put so much market research into these, right? This like they don't leave much up to chance. These, especially with like a big project like this. Like stealth was what the feedback was telling them. The gamers want more stealth in their games. Like that seems like a very weird move to me. I don't understand like where they got that information from. That stealth is what we were looking for in 2020. I know everything's cyclical and all that shit, but like
that's the most confounding thing is who made that decision? Because it had to have been early on. This idea of we're gonna have the first open world real Star Wars game where you're playing as a character with interesting decisions and a really top-notch storyline, and it's stealth.
Mostly stealth. It's mostly stealth.
It's gonna be stealth. It's gonna be the least popular type of combat in video games, and we're gonna put it in Star Wars.
It's weird. Very weird, right?
It's very weird.
Do we get some like space combat escort missions too? Can we have some of those?
Right?
I don't know. Like it's not bad though. Like
that's it. It's not bad. It's just not what you want. And that's sort of the problem. It's like, this isn't bad. It's not what I want, but it's not bad. It's like what I want. You tell me open world Star Wars. I think they didn't want you to play this game and be like, oh, this is like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is Assassin's Creed Star Wars. And they wanted it to not be that. But by making it not that, they made it worse. Where if they had just made it Assassin's Creed Star Wars, where you went around and you had a stick and you beat the crap out of people, that would have worked.
I'm sure there's plenty of outlaws in the Star Wars universe that are murdering people, and you could be one of those people.
Yeah.
I feel like we're the outlaw with a heart. It feels like
that don't put asses in seats though. The outlaw with a heart.
That's the whole thing. It's like they want you to be this sort of good guy character.
Yeah, that works in 1977, right?
That's why they named her Jan Solo.
That's why they named her Jan Solo.
It's not 1977 anymore. There's a lot of assholes on TikTok that are making millions of dollars. So at least we can be a murdering Star Wars person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think they may have had to like try to differentiate it between the other Star Wars games that I'm forgetting the name of with Jaden.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah,
his games like the more action
the EA
Jedi.
Ones?
Yeah, the EA ones, because those are.
But they're not open world. And
they're not open world, but sort of kind of
are, but not.
But that's all lightsaber and force combat. They could have made this all blaster and gadgets. Like they could have done that, and that would.
Could they have made it Mass Effect?
They could have basically. They should have just.
It's not that far off from like I'm playing it, going like. This feels a little Mass Effect-y. Like they could have leaned into the RPG elements even further than what they have, because you're having all these like interesting conversations and like you have all the different factions you're trying to do stuff with, and I don't know, it's almost there. It almost did it.
Imagine if the reviews came out and said it was Star Wars Mass Effect. Like that's gonna sell a lot of copies,
right?
Finally a successor to Mass Effect, and it's Star Wars. That's a headline. People would go nuts for that. Mm-hmm.
They blew it. It's almost like these gaming executives don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Again and again, these big, huge
getting
projects.
In their own way. They're just getting in their own way.
This one, I can't even figure it out because you can see how like they make the mistakes with, okay, we need a games of service, whatever's trendy now, but like what was right? Like they thought it was coming back, and like you know what? And if it's one thing, if like their stealth system was somehow innovative, like Splinter Cell came out, and they got the shadows and all those meters.
Yeah,
and
you don't have thermal goggles or anything like that in this. No, there's no innovation to it.
It's hiding in grass, right?
Yeah, it's ducking.
It's ducking behind
waiting,
things and then
waiting for
your
the guy to walk
out.
past you.
Yeah.
and then walking in the other direction.
Right.
It's
Or if there's two guys, you're like, oh, I guess I have to figure out how to split up these two guys, and then you send out your axolotl and we like make one of them come over to you, and you knock him out, and then the other guy's like, huh.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened, and then you figure out how to get around that guy.
Which Star Wars movie did that happen in? None,
that happens
right?
in episode 1.
It's not like there's a lot of stealth in Star Wars either.
There is no stealth in Star Wars.
There's some stealth in episode
I mean,
1.
I guess when they go into the
Episode 1.
Death Star.
That's not the part that, again, that's not the part that's putting asses in seats.
Yeah.